Most businesses convert 2 to 5% of their sales calls, and the best convert 70% or higher. If that range shocks you, you're about to understand why. The hard truth is that the difference is not your product, it is not your pricing, it is not even the salesperson's personality. The difference is your framework. In the first episode, we covered the neuroscience of buying. People make emotional decisions and rationalize them with logic. Now, today, we're going to turn that into a 7 stage framework that maps into the decision making process. By the end of this video, you will have a word for word template that you can start applying right after this video. This is not high pressure selling, this is structure. And structure is what separates amateurs from high achieving professionals. And structure is what makes the conversion stop being luck and start be predictable. Let's start. Most salespeople think that the call starts when the prospect picks up the phone. They are very wrong. The call starts 3 to 7 days before that. The pre-frame is the expectation setting that you do before the conversation even happens. The prospect arrives with a mindset and you either let it form by accident or you shape it deliberately. Here is a pre-frame email to a SaaS prospect after initial interest. Hi Sarah, thank you for hopping on earlier this week. I grabbed notes on what you mentioned about your team scaling faster than the tools that can handle them. And I've been thinking about this because we've just walked through the exact same issue with 3 similar clients. The conversation I want to have on Thursday is about understanding whether the pathway usually makes sense for the situation. My goal is not going to be sell you. I'm either going to confirm whether this could be useful for you, and if it's not, I'm going to be honest that we are not the right fit. That email does 5 things. First, it maintains the continuity from last conversation. Positioning that you can solve this exact problem. Reframing that the call is understanding you're not selling. Signaling that no also is an acceptable outcome, and creating curiosity about the path that you took. The prospect now shows a thinking that this person gets it and I should listen. Here is the same principle for a high ticket coaching call. Hey James, I read through what you wrote about scaling from 7 figures to 8. I noticed something specific that tells me that you have had an inflection point here. Before the call, I want to be transparent about how I work. I do not believe in generic coaching and I do not work with everyone. Third, it's just really to see whether the situation can actually help you out or not. This is a different business, but the structure is identical. Did you notice that? You now establish you have to work with other people like at that stage and not establish that not everyone qualifies and you are the selector and not the salesperson. The prospect shows up thinking that I need to prove that I'm a good fit. You have now shifted the dynamic even before saying hello. Now this alone can now surprise and not, make your prospect not surprised and not defensive. Do not ever skip this. Now 90 seconds is the window to make the prospect lower their guards or keep it up. Most sales training gets rapport wrong. They confuse small talk with rapport. How was your day? How was the weekend? It's not rapport building, that is stalling the conversation. Real rapport is simply making someone feel understood quickly. It's showing that you listen, it's demonstrating that you know something specific about the world. 4 moves in 90 seconds can get this rapport done for you. First, genuine warmth. 2. Fake enthusiasm. 3. Continuity from P-frame. 3. Specificity. Reference something that they actually said. 4. Ask permission to go deeper. Here is the full opening for a SaaS demo. Hi David, thanks for jumping in. I have read what you sent about your outreach process and how your team is hitting walls and manual follow-ups cannot go on any longer according to you. That's exactly the problem we have from teams at your stage, and that's pretty quickly solvable with the right tools and processes. But before we can see what works, can I understand your world a little bit more? What does a typical day look like for a sales team, and where do you think is the biggest bottleneck? And then stop, pause, just let them speak. The goal of that time is not selling. It is a state change. You need to shift the stage from I'm here to evaluate this to I'm curious what this person has to say. And when that shift happens, everything after that gets easier. But this is where most salespeople fail. They ask discovery questions, the prospect answers, but the salesperson immediately jumps into solution mode. But the prospect has not felt the problem yet. And if they're not felt the problem, they cannot feel the solutions. Problem amplification takes an annoyance and expands it into a quantifiable cost. SaaS example again. Prospect says leads are falling through the cracks. Do not say, let me show you our automation feature. Say, when you say that leads are falling through the crack, what does that actually mean? Can you give me a specific example or some lead that you lost recently? And then they tell you, you keep going deeper. Alright, so if that had closed, what was that deal worth for you? $50,000. And how often does that happen? Once a quarter, once a month? How often? 2 or 3 times a month? Now, do the math out loud. So that is $100 to $150,000 a month. $400 to $600,000 a quarter. Just leads falling through the cracks because you don't have the right systems. Is that about right? Now they are feeling it. But you're not done. Go deeper. So beyond the revenue, man, what does this do to the morale of the team? If your team is chasing leads manually instead of selling, what does that mean for your sales cycle? The answer, then you follow. So you're losing deals and burning out the team and extending the cycle. Does that sound right? No, you're not just aware of the problem, you're feeling the cost of not solving it, and now they have agreed for it right now. Same approach for an agency pitch. The prospect might say that marketing is inconsistent. Dig deeper. So when lead flow is uneven like that, what happens to your team's work ethic? Then once the answer asked, and when that work ethic is spotty, what does that do to your ability to serve your existing clients? Then how does that affect the retention? And the money question. Okay, so what percentage of your profit comes from clients who have been with you for 3 years or longer? Zero. Oh my god. Then after the answer, ask, the inconsistent lead flow is not just about not getting new clients, it is about destroying relationships with the clients who are actually your most profitable ones, right? You did not do anything unethical here. You just asked questions that revealed the actual cost of inaction. Now the prospect goes from we should fix this to we need to fix this now. And now comes the pivot. You've amplified the problem. The prospect now feels the cost and now you present the solution. Critical difference here. You do not present the list of features here. You present the antidote to the specific pain that you just amplified. Start by naming the outcome they want. For example, the outcome you want is clear. We want every lead touched consistently and you want to close faster without, your team working nights and weekends, right? They'll agree. Now present them the mechanism tied to their emotional needs. For example, the way we're gonna do this is simple. We'll automate the follow-up so nothing falls through the cracks, but we'll not automate it in a way that feels robotic, because then that is pointless now. We're gonna customize it so that it sounds like it's coming from your exact team. Your conversion will now go up, your team will not burn out, and your sales cycle will be cut shorter because of automation and deals will close faster. 3 benefits and each one maps to an emotion you already uncovered on the call. Faster conversion for revenue, team for morale, faster cycle for efficiency. Each feature tied back to outcome. When a lead comes in, they go through an automated sequence. 3 touches in the first 3 days, and each touch is different. First is education. It's going to be a research that is useful even if they're not buying. Second is social proof. Third is a personal message from the sales rep. The lead feels personal attention without your team even spending a minute on admin work like this. The objective is not to impress with features. It is confidence that your specific solution solves their specific problems. Now social proof works. The research is overwhelming that it does, but most people deploy it at wrong time. They simply drop case studies randomly, anytime. Strategic proof goes in right after solution presentation. The prospect is now starting to believe that it might work, but they have not made the emotional leap to a decision, and that is the moment where social proof comes in. You can lead with something like, I want to share something because I think it is relevant here. We have worked with a team very similar to yours about 6 months ago. Same situation. They were growing too fast. They were losing leads. The team was burning out. Does the situation sound about right? They'll nod. Then say we implemented the same system I just showed you. And within 30 days, they recovered 12 leads that had fallen through the cracks. Those leads flowed in the next 60 days and additional $180,000 in revenue was added in the first quarter alone. But here is what surprised them the most. The team would have went up. Instead of doing admin work, they now focused on selling. They said it was the first time in 3 years that they felt like it was the team was actually had the time to sell. There were four things here: specificity, familiarity, emotional dimension, and an insight that made it more than transaction. There are four rules. First, it should be recent, not 5 years ago, recent. Next is specificity, actual numbers, revenue, and percentages. Third is emotional truth. How did the customer feel, not what they want? Fourth is relevance. Match the story to the prospect's world. Coaching story for a coaching prospect, agency story for an agency prospect. Done right, social proof is brilliant. It'll lift trust by 30 to 40%. Now let's talk about the pricing reveal, and this is where most calls die. The salesperson has done everything right, and then they say the investment is 8,000 a month. The prospect goes quiet, they start thinking about price instead of value, and now you've lost them. The structure is: first, you need to re-establish the cost of inaction. For example, remember when we did the math, you calculated that we are losing about $150,000 a month because leads are falling through the cracks, right? $400 to $600,000 every single quarter, right? The system is an investment of 8,000 a month, $96,000 a year. First quarter alone will recover 4-5x of that entire amount if we just cover 3 to 4% of those leads. 96,000 versus 600,000. The price now feels very small. Then frame against outcome. For example, and beyond paying for itself and recovered deals, you said that you will get a team that is not burnt out. You said that the sales cycle will become 30% faster, right? The system will scale as you grow, and then layer the social proof. For example, now as I showed you, we work with teams similar to you. In the first year itself, they recovered 600,000 in lost deals and got their team to work really less hours. They said it was the best investment they made in the entire decade. Then offer them a payment plan if they're not ready. Monthly is 8,000, but if you lock in it for a full year, there is a 15% flat discount. So it just comes to just over 8,200 a month. You can even do it month by month if you don't want to, but this is the offer that we have. Now this monthly framing makes the price feel roughly 75% smaller than quoting annually. Use it and use it intentionally. Now the objective of the pricing reveal is not to justify the price. It is just to make the price very small relative to the problem it will solve. Now next comes the close stage. The close happens in the conversation and not in a pitch. Most salespeople ask, are we gonna move forward? And they are hoping for a yes. Now if you have done stages 1 through 6, the close is not gonna be a question. It is just a logistics conversation. After the pricing reveal, there is a moment of silence. Instead of waiting, you move forward with assumptive language. Do not say, would you like to move forward? Say, here is what happens next. We get started within the week, and the first thing is the 60-minute implementation call. We'll connect your systems, we'll set up the team, we'll walk through the workflow, and then we're going to be checking in at week 2. Let me pull up my calendar. I have Tuesday at 2 and Wednesday at 4 available. Which one works better for you? You did not even ask if they want to buy. You just told them what happens next, and you gave them a binary choice. And the choice to buy or not was lost way back in the conversation. It closes the door to I'll think about it. Now it's just a logistical question. If you decide to move forward is when we get started. Would you move forward will become here is what happens next. Now if a prospect says I need to think about it, that is not a real objection. That is just a sign that you did not create enough urgency in third stage. But if it comes up, say something like, I appreciate that. I want to make sure that you thought of the implications of not implementing it. Now, in losing 400 or 600,000 of year, you calculated if you do nothing, that number will only keep growing as you grow, right? Will it not? Now, what specifically do you want to actually think through? Is it the investment, the implementation, whether this will work? What is it actually? Now, let's offer to address it here. Real urgency is built into the offer. It's never artificial. If you say something like, this implementation slots in the next 2 weeks are there, but after that the team is booked till mid-May. If we start now, you'll start seeing result by end of quarter 2, but if we'll start in May, it'll be early quarter 4. given that you're losing the leads weekly, doing this sooner matters very much to you, right? And if I am unbiased, this matters. Now, this creates real and genuine urgency in them. The timeline genuinely impacts the results. If you say something like this pricing is only available till Friday, they'll watch directly through it. That's manipulation. Don't do that. If they say yes, confirm logistics and end on a high note. But if they're not ready, no problem. Establish a specific follow up. Say something like, oh, no problem, let's not rush this. Take the rest of today, sleep over it. Let's meet tomorrow at 10 and let's talk through anything else that you need to talk through. But if we decide to move tomorrow, I want your word that you'll be showing up. Because, see, I have 16 meetings lined up for the next 3 days. I can't allocate a slot and not have you be there. So, can I count on you that we're going to be deciding on something and changing the fate of the business tomorrow at 10? This way, you're getting that solid yes out of him at the end, and you're gonna be getting a commitment for the next call. You're not accepting a soft yes, you're keeping that momentum without sounding pushy. Now, let's talk about implementation. Just 4 steps. First, document the process. Watch this video again, write it down, print it out, put it on your wall. Step 2. Script the transitions, especially problem amplification to solution transition and solution to close transition. Those moments are very critical. Third, role play. Do it daily. Do it until it sounds natural and not robotic. It should be conversational, but you should follow the structure. Step 4. Track conversions by stage. Not just the overall rate, but the rate per stage. Because this will now tell you where the leak exactly is, and then you can plug that leak. Now, for each call, answer yes or no for the stage by stage tracking. Pre-frame is sent or not? Discovery is engaged or not? Did the prospect quantify cost out loud? Did they ask questions about the solution? Did social proof land? Did you anchor the price against problem cost? Did you get a yes or a committed next step or at least a clear no? Patterns will start appearing and you will see where you and your team are strong and where you need work. Now, most businesses think conversion is a people problem, but it is not. It is always a system and framework problem. If your best closer hits 50% and your average is 3, the difference is not talent. The best closer is using pieces of this exact framework whether they know it or not. Now, you can teach everyone. Tie this back to episode 1. Humans make emotional decisions, then rationalize them with logic. This framework is built on that foundation. Pre-framing creates emotional readiness. The 90-second opening creates safety. Problem amplification creates urgency. Solution presentation proves that you are a good fit. Social proof reinforces the decision. And pricing reveal removes the shocks. Close creates momentum. This is not manipulation, this is alignment. You're just aligning the sales process with how humans actually make decisions. The prospect amplifies their own problems. The prospect confirms the solution themselves. The prospect realizes the cost of inaction. Your job is just to structure the conversation so the realizations happen in the right order. Implement this and your conversion is climbed to somewhere around 70% in 3 to 6 months. That'll change your revenue, your team dynamics, your ability to hire more, and not just the closing ability. In the next episode, we'll cover how to hire and retain the people in the team to execute the frameworks, because systems are only as good as the people running it. The homework is to document the stages, to script them, to start role playing on them. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who might find this valuable, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.